Look at your salt shaker. Pick it up. Feel how light it is. You probably refill it without thinking, spend maybe a dollar, maybe two, and forget about it within seconds. But there was a period in human history, not ancient, not prehistoric, not some barely documented era, when that exact object sitting in your hand represented more concentrated power than gold. When governments collapsed because of it, when wars were fought over it, when entire civilizations were built on top of it, and entire civilizations died the moment it was taken away. And the reason has nothing to do with flavor. Let's start with what salt actually is, not the seasoning, the molecule. Sodium chloride is not optional for human biology. Your heart cannot beat without it. Your nerves cannot fire without it. Your muscles cannot contract without it. Every single process your body runs, every thought, every movement, every breath, requires a precise concentration of sodium in your bloodstream. Too little, and your cells begin to fail. Too much, and they do the same. Your kidneys spend every hour of every day of your entire life doing nothing but managing that concentration, keeping it within a range so narrow that a deviation of just a few percentage points in either direction becomes a medical emergency. Your body cannot make sodium. It can only lose it. Every time you sweat, every time you breathe, every time your heart beats, sodium leaves. And the only way to replace it is to eat it. For most of human history, that was the problem. In tropical and subtropical regions, close to the ocean, or salt deposits, sodium was accessible. Not easy, but accessible. Move inland, move north, move into the continental interiors of Europe, Asia, or the Americas, and suddenly there is no salt. Not scarce, not expensive, gone, completely absent from the landscape. And the human body, running its sodium balance down every single day, begins to fail within weeks. This is what made salt the first strategic resource in human history. Not because it tasted good, because without it you died. Slowly, measurably, and with absolutely no alternative. Here is the first thing most history books get wrong. Salt wasn't valuable because it was rare everywhere. It was valuable because it was rare in exactly the wrong places. The people who needed it most were always the people farthest from it. And the people who controlled the routes between the two controlled everything that moved along those routes. The word salary comes from the Latin salarium. Roman soldiers were partly paid in salt or in money specifically allocated for salt purchase. This wasn't a quirk of Roman bureaucracy. It was an acknowledgement that salt was so fundamental to survival that it functioned as a form of guaranteed biological necessity. You could refuse gold, you could not refuse salt. Not for long, but the power of salt went further than currency. It went to the thing that made civilization possible in the first place. Preservation, before refrigeration, before canning, before any of the food storage technologies that define modern life, there was salt. Salt draws moisture out of biological tissue through osmosis. Bacteria require moisture to reproduce. No moisture means no bacterial growth. No bacterial growth means meat that would rot within days at room temperature remains edible for months, sometimes years. This single chemical property changed the entire trajectory of human civilization. Because food preservation meant surplus. Surplus meant you could feed people who weren't farming. People who weren't farming could specialize. Specialization produced soldiers, administrators, craftsmen, priests, engineers. Every complex society that has ever existed on Earth was built on a foundation of preserved food. And preserved food, for most of human history, meant salted food. Salt didn't just support civilization, it was the precondition for it. The salt routes of the ancient world were the original infrastructure of human trade. The Via Salaria in Italy, the Salt Road, predates the Roman Empire. It was already ancient when Rome was founded. Timbuktu, one of the wealthiest cities in medieval African history, sat at the intersection of two resource flows moving in opposite directions. Gold moving north, salt moving south. The salt was worth as much as the gold, sometimes more. In medieval Europe, the Hanseatic League, a commercial confederation of trading cities that dominated northern European trade for 3 centuries, was built almost entirely on one product: salted herring. The ability to preserve fish with salt and ship it across the continent created a trade network so powerful it negotiated treaties, fielded armies, and operated independently of the kings and emperors whose territories it crossed. A fish preserved with salt, rewriting the political map of a continent.
But here's where it gets extraordinary. Salt didn't just create power, it destroyed it. The French gabelle was a salt tax imposed by the French crown beginning in the 14th century. By the 18th century, it had become so extreme, so deliberately structured to extract maximum revenue from a population that had no alternative but to pay, that it became one of the primary triggers of the French Revolution. Historians estimate the gabelle contributed more directly to